We review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. We're doing something a little different here. We're going to do Pardon the Interruption, PTI, with Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon. So, the way I want to do this is, since this is the first time I've done this video, this show specifically, I think I'm just going to let it play. I'll stop it. I'll offer quick thoughts, very quick, to kind of keep it in line with the back and forth. And then just kind of go from there, kind of have it just maybe be a more smooth thing rather than more deep breakdowns. That's why I kind of like PTI, is that it's just kind of more quick and fast paced, just the fastest 30 minutes. So let's take a listen and see how this goes.
Basketball tournament. The men's #1 seeds are UConn, Houston, Purdue, and North Carolina. 3 of those 4 lost over the weekend. None of them has fewer than 3 losses. North Carolina has 7 losses. Wilbon, what are your biggest takeaways from the bracket?
Tony, I think that I was annoyed at a couple of things. Let's start with UConn, which is supposed to be the overall #1 seed, and yet they they have the hardest road. Why is that? If somebody's your overall #1 seed, can't you sit in that room and balance the field? Can't you do that just sequestered for days and weeks? What are we talking about here? And then there's some teams I think were snubbed, some schools. I'm not going to go crazy on this, but Indiana State and Pitt, I thought, belong in. I realize there's some teams like North Carolina State, which by, jumping up and surprising everybody and winning the ACC tournament in Washington, they got a bid that you weren't counting on, and I understand you got to take it off the board from somebody else. But I think that those shouldn't have been Pitt and Indiana State. It just shouldn't be the case, Tony. So those 2 things annoy me, that you can't balance it with UConn. I would start there. I think the 1 seeds are legit, maybe. North Carolina, perhaps overly rewarded, perhaps. But we'll get to see about that.
I think college basketball will always run into the problem, just college sports in general, both football and basketball, because there's too much subjectivity and, right, there's just more human opinion rather than concrete facts, right? The NFL, the NBA, other professional sports leagues, it's just, what is your record? That's it. That's it. Maybe you get into these situations where if there's a tiebreaker where it's okay, what is your record specifically against this team or within the division or conference, whatever. But for the most part, it's just, you have 43 wins, this team has 42 wins. Therefore, you are above them. That's it. And that's the problem with college sports, is there's too much subjectivity. But that's also why college sports is kind of popular in a way, because it encourages so much more debate and conversation, because people could say, no, this team's better. No, this team is better. Yeah, but they beat this team by 20. Yeah, but they beat this team, which is a better team, by 15. Well, it's harder. And that's what kind of the allure to some degree of college sports are. But if you just care about competition and fairness, it's not the way you go.
Yeah, I love this show because I can honestly disagree with you about something. I'm not going to sit here and bleed for teams that didn't get in. You mentioned Pitt and you mentioned Indiana State. Other people are talking about
St. John's.
St. John's being in that situation. Yeah. Maybe other Big East teams are in that situation. Look, I feel very clearly about this. There are 68 teams in this thing. 68. You want to get in, win more games. The opportunity was there for you. I'm a little bit surprised that only 3 Big East teams are in, because the Big East over the last 25 or 30 years has won a lot of national championships. But my sense is that Georgetown and DePaul are just so dreadful that they drag the rest of the thing down. I'm a little surprised the Mountain West got 6 teams in.
Mountain West is
I can't name 6 Mountain West teams. I can't even name 3 Mountain West teams. I think the feel-good story is Duquesne. Duquesne hadn't been in 47 years. People don't even know where Duquesne is. They don't realize it's in Boston. That's a joke.
Oops.
It's in Pittsburgh. I understand that. I think though that UConn and Houston and Purdue were the top of the food chain the whole year. So I sort of expect the winner to maybe come from there. I understand North Carolina. North Carolina got the #1 seed when they went into Cameron and beat Duke before the tournament began, because
They lost to NC State.
I know, but so did Tennessee, and Tennessee and Arizona also lost,
Yeah,
so they were the other. They were the competition. Maybe you could say Iowa State, but I think Carolina's more glamorous than Iowa State. I do.
We're rewarding glamour now, huh?
Yeah.
If we're gonna do that,
They always have.
come on. Glamour. Stop. Let's move to the women's draw, where unbeaten South Carolina was named the overall #1 seed. Joining the Gamecocks as 1 seeds are Iowa, Southern Cal, and Texas, which edged out Stanford. Defending champion LSU landed a 3 seed in the same region as Iowa, the team the Tigers beat for the title last season. Tony, I got big problems with the women's bracket. Do you have some of these same issues?
I don't know how many you've got. I've got one very clear issue here. I don't know how you can construct a bracket that would have Iowa and LSU in the same region and have to play a knockout game before the Final Four. I don't know how you can look at teams with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, the two most popular, well-known, and accomplished players in the entire country, and put them in a position that one of them has to go out before the Final Four. To use a word that you love to use on this show, it's simply stupid. You're trying to grow your game. You want eyeballs on your game. At least if you get a South Carolina in the final, you could conceivably get either Iowa or LSU against them, and that would bring a lot of eyeballs to the set. I think some people might have quibbled a little bit with the fact that Texas is a #1, right, and Stanford isn't, but they're in the same region, so that's going to become a moot point at some point.
And that's the thing is about college sports and just sports in general. It's entertainment companies. It's what maximizes entertainment. That's what needs to be done. And if you're constructing brackets or constructing tournaments or games in general in ways that don't maximize entertainment, then you are making a grave mistake. That's why the NBA has the play-in tournament now, because it makes the final however many games of the season more exciting, and then you have like kind of extra playoff-y type games. That's why they added extra games that used to be best of 5 in the earlier rounds for basketball, and now it's all best of 7 because playoff basketball is so exciting. So even the first round is so exciting. A game 6 or game 7, even in the first round, can be so exciting. It doesn't have to be, the semifinals or the championship or the actual finals. So, those are decisions to be made to make it more exciting, And if you're actually having some momentum with women's basketball, specifically women's, college basketball, my Lord, you got to do everything you can to maximize the entertainment. And that is not necessarily what they're doing now.
Tony, yes, to everything you said. I'm just looking at this. This alone gets me set off. UCLA's a 2 seed in the same as Iowa, same bracket, as part of the bracket as Iowa. LSU's a 3, and Kansas State, which I was already played twice and split games with, is a 4. What are you doing? What are you doing? So basically, Tony, to me, and I know these are very smart people individually, but collectively, that room was plagued by dumb. That room has done everything it can to sabotage a product which has saved college basketball this year. Because the men's product was, let me use another word I use often on this show, the men's game this season was junk. That's what it was. Now, March may turn us around from that, and it may be the only thing we remember ultimately. The regular season of men's college basketball was nothing. The women were fabulous, and yet you have now pitted teams against each other as if you didn't know what you were doing. Do you ever pick up a phone if you're in the room and say, hey, let me run something past you? This is unbelievably dumb that they can't look at their own work and say, wait a minute, let's go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I think Caitlin Clark is the biggest star. I think South Carolina is the biggest story. They're 103-3 in the last 3 years. I think I'd like to see them win. That's like UConn territory, 103-3. We move now to the resolution of Justin Fields and the Bears. The Bears traded Fields to Pittsburgh over the weekend, making clear their intention to draft a quarterback at #1. The Bears got a 6th-round pick for Fields that could move up to a 4th, depending on Fields' playing time. Wilbon, does it feel like your Bears got enough?
No, conditional 6 is not what you're looking for. I mean, you're just not. I mean, from the time that there's talk about this, but Tony, a market sort of sets itself, and the Bears alone can't mess with that. If you're talking about having 4 or 5 or more quarterbacks drafted in the first round, or the first round and the first couple picks of the second round, then that changes the market for Justin Fields. Some teams may say, wait a minute, before I give up this, I'll give up a second or a third, but I can draft my own quarterback. So you have some issues there. You have Kirk Cousins moving. You have some issues that directly affected the Bears and their ability to make a deal for Fields. And I know, look, Tony, part of the big story in Chicago is the notion of doing right by Justin Fields. And some people may frown at that and say, wait a minute, you better do what's right for your team. A team has to look at the population of players who are looking at a team wondering how are they going to treat him. The Bears have to do business beyond this week and this month and this draft. And you want to have it out there that you think for other players around the league that the Bears will do right by you. They did right by Justin Fields to some degree. So some people that may not resonate with, I do understand it, while I was hoping for more in the way of compensation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
That is always so overblown and such nonsense, because players want to be able to win and want money. Okay, so if Chicago has Caleb Williams and a great team, and they're winning, players will go there no matter what, whether they treated with Justin Fields with the most amount of respect or not. So that whole idea that you have to do right by other players because that's what sends a message to other players is just nonsense. I mean, it's so overblown. And believe me, I want the players to be treated with respect. I want everyone to be treated with respect. I'm not one of those people that says, they're players, just whatever. But I am also from the school of thought where it's like, we pay these guys hundreds of millions of dollars. And now, granted, Justin Fields isn't making hundreds of millions of dollars. He's still making massive amounts of money. Okay. So that is part of the business. That is part of the game. Okay. So it was come out that Chicago apparently had the ability to get a better haul for him, but it was from a team that had a truly established quarterback, which we know the Eagles tried to make a trade. But then it also came out that it was potentially the Buffalo Bills. So, and apparently Chicago wanted to do right by him by trading him to Pittsburgh to actually give him a chance, to start and play. I just don't know how true that is. That sounds good, but if I'm Chicago and I've been hurting for decades and haven't done anything for decades, I don't care. I drafted Justin Fields expecting him to be this great quarterback, and he did not produce. So therefore, you are going to get rid of him, maximize what you can get, and continue to build my team. The Chicago Bears now, they're not actually my team. I'm just using this as an example. To build the best team they can. I want you to put Caleb Williams in a position to succeed, to be able to finally win, to get into the playoffs, to get into the NFC Championship game, to get to Super Bowls and win Super Bowls. So if you could have gotten a significantly better haul for Justin Fields and you didn't take it because you were trying to do right by Justin Fields, that's comically, laughably absurd and does not make sense.
A third-round pick I was hoping for wasn't to be.
Yeah, I'm stunned. I'm stunned by this story. One, because Pittsburgh took him. Last week, Pittsburgh got Russell Wilson, so that stunned me. Two, because he fetched a 6th-round pick. I mean, he's been pretty good, and he started for 3 years in the league. Mac Jones started for 3 years in the league. He fetched a 6th-round pick, but he was clearly on the decline. Kenny Pickett got a 3rd-round pick. There was all this drama about Justin Fields, and there was no market. I think they waited way too long. I think they waited for too many free agents to move. I think they should have done it earlier. Now, I also don't get what Pittsburgh is doing. I mean, Russell Wilson, this seems to me to be a direct attack on Russell Wilson when you bring in Justin Fields. It seems to me that Pittsburgh is hedging its bet, saying, I don't know if Russell Wilson can actually be the guy. And it leads me to believe, as I've told you privately, that by the 6th game of the season, Fields may well be the starter there.
Tony,
first
let me mention this. The pick is conditional, so it could be a 4th. But Russell Wilson's a stopgap move. He's a bridge. Russell Wilson, if he has 2 good years left, Fields would still be 26 and can then play. I'm sure Mike Tomlin's looking. 60 people started at quarterback last year. Most people don't have Patrick Mahomes, and they need two. The Bears certainly started, 2 or 3 people at quarterback. You need more than one. And Russell Wilson isn't Russell Wilson from 2013. So if you can have,
I'm just surprised.
And Tony, they paid nothing for him. They got a 6th round, and they paid Russ $1 million.
Nothing. They got them for free. I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised at it because of the proximity of acquiring one and then acquiring the other. Let's take a break. Coming up is Scottie Scheffler on his way to becoming a dominating golfer.
And what's the word for the shot that Kyrie?
They're going to draft the LSU.
At this point,
Herd and mail time. Let me get the first one. Go to the glasses. What does winning the Players' Championship tell you about Scottie Scheffler?
A lot, including he was just physically and mentally tougher than you can expect a person to be. Tony, the crook in his neck or whatever that was that had him barely able to take the club back on Friday. He couldn't even turn. He had to turn his whole upper body to see the ball. And it was amazing to watch him struggle through that, get through it, and then shoot 64 in the final round of the Players. And that putt doesn't tell me anything about Scottie Scheffler. It tells you about how a tournament can end and the frustration of it, and we've all been there, even weekend hackers. But Scottie Scheffler, Tone, he's the #1 dude in the world. Until they can figure out a way to get him and John Rahm in more than 4 tournaments a year, it's Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah, so we're sort of aligned on this, sort of. What winning the Players tells me about Scottie Scheffler is that he is either the #1 player in the world or he isn't because John Rahm is, and we don't know at the moment. Okay, and we don't want this situation where the only time they play is 4 times a year.
No,
Nobody wants that. This was a great leaderboard. This was a great tournament. Scottie Scheffler had a great Sunday, 8 under on Sunday, but I thought the absence of Rahm sort of loomed over it. It wasn't like Rory and Spieth, who weren't on the leaderboard because they weren't good enough at that point. He wasn't even in the tournament. Still, there was all the drama in the world, Mike. It comes down to the last 2 holes. You get Schauffele on 17, and you get Harman and Clark on 18 with makeable putts to cause a playoff here. They were all close. Clark's was in. It did a 270.
It's in the hole.
It went 3/4 of the way around and came out. It was a stunning ending, and I thought a very satisfying tournament, particularly for Scheffler. I agree with that part.
Who, by the way, won twice in a row. Nobody had done that at the Players. Won back-to-back. Scheffler has now.
And 2 in a row.
He's the guy
also
going
2
into
in a row
the
because he
fat
won the
part of
Arnold
the
Palmer.
season. He's the guy.
That's right. Here's what's next. What's the word you would use to describe Kyrie's shot that beat the Nuggets?
Historic. As in, you and I have been watching basketball.
Why is that so historic?
NBA basketball.
It's a buzzer
for,
beater.
about 120 years. Tony, there's very few, if any. That's a left-handed hook shot from a right-handed guy who's 6'1", over a 7-foot guy, moving to his left. And with rotation, and he watches it all the way in. It's not a prayer. Look, the shot I think is the greatest shot in history in my life is watching Magic Johnson's junior skyhook in Boston. You and I sat and watched that over Bird, Parrish, and McHale in their outstretched hands. But Magic's 6'9". I know Bird, McHale, and Parrish are 6'9", 6'10", 7 feet. But Kyrie's 6 feet tall, a little over 6'1". Historic, Tony. It's one of the 5 or 6 greatest shots I've ever seen, ever. Maybe
God.
2.
Get over it.
Yeah. Here comes
In a
another
meaningless
honest
game.
disagreement. The word I would use is left-handed. It was a wonderful shot.
Yes.
It deserves all the credit in the world. He used his offhand. You can't praise it enough, but here's the but. What it did was decide a regular season game with 14 games left to go in the schedule, right? So was it the junior skyhook? No, it was not. Was it Leitner? No, it was not. Was it Jordan over Elo? No, it was not. Was it Chris Jenkins? No. Was it Keith Smart? No. It wasn't even Kyrie making a shot to win the championship for Cleveland. It was a dramatic shot, but not a dramatic circumstance. That's what I'm saying.
The circumstance wasn't, Tony,
that, right?
But the creativity. The level of
Yeah, it was
art
great.
that this shot was trumps
Nothing.
even Kyrie's own shot to beat Golden State. It was art.
Man, that
my
won a championship.
goodness. Yeah, it did.
That won a
It did.
championship. It's different. It's different. Enough email. Let's take one last break. Still to come. Shohei
Are you getting?
eating. Happy 26th birthday, Emmanuel Class A. The Cleveland closer led the majors in saves the last 2 seasons. Class A had.
All right. I can't listen to the rest of this because I think a song will trigger like a copyright claim. So we can't do the rundown and the big finish. Sorry. But that was my first time doing PTI. Let me know how you guys liked it. Normally I do, if this is your first time checking out a video, normally I just break down shorter clips from like First Take, First Things First, The Herd. But I wanted to do PTI. I thought that would maybe be interesting to do kind of like, these quick, more like rapid fire type things. If you think it worked and you enjoyed it, let me know and I can kind of keep doing it. If not, also please let me know. I really want to, this community to be, very connected and alive. But yeah, either way, let me know in the comments. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.